All right, we are back here on the podcast, wrapping up the holiday special here with a little bit of a pop culture segment here, sort of give you some stuff to do in that weird, awkward time space between Christmas and New Year's. Joining me today, guy we heard on the pop culture stuff before us on the holiday special last year. We reran his segment from 2020, talking about the holiday pop culture draft. Alan Austin is here. Alan, how are you?
Mike, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. It is awesome to talk to you again. Such a fun time of year. And it's always a blast discussing these kind of things with you. So thanks for having me back.
Yeah, thanks for coming on here. And obviously, like, I had this idea sort of pop up last year. I was reading an article on Slate about the really weird sort of calendar week between Christmas and New Year's. I think they called it Fero Week on Slate.com, where sort of like time doesn't really move. Like you're kind of in that weird little limbo between the one end of one year and the start of the next. So like it's very interesting. I feel like you and I have definitely had experiences in the past where you sit here like that week almost doesn't exist in sort of reality.
Yeah, and you know what? The older we get, the less that becomes true, because my work week continues on. I'm in a 24/7 environment, so there are no holidays off. So it's just a blur. And I feel like when you're a student or a teacher or someone who has a winter break of some sort, it really holds true.
Yeah, I think it's saying more in the sense of like, like it's like, oh, like either people like saved up vacation time, they take off that week. Or,
yes.
Yeah, or like if you're in the office, you're kind of like half paying attention, not really super engaged going on here. Then the overdrive's going to kick until after New Year's.
That's fair. Yeah, you're completely right.
Yeah, because like, I mean, I'm sure you're going to be in the office, but like your attention will probably not be as heightened as it would be like before or after the holidays.
I get what you're saying for sure.
Yeah. So I think this is fun. We get the listeners a lot of gifts over the years in terms of content recommendations. So I think we're going to do the pop culture stocking stuffers here. So we're going to give you some items here, Alan and I. We have a list of, looks like 9 categories where we're going to come up with stuff that's from this year in pop culture, the recent past, sort of like give you ideas, holiday stuff as well. Like stuff to do, like if you happen to have some time in that no man's land here, stuff to catch up on and give you stuff to do. Occupy your time you're not with family or working or whatnot.
Sounds good. I'm ready to go.
All right, so let's start off here. A TV show from this year that you would want to pick for people to check out. Like, you have any suggestions for the listeners?
Sure. So I was initially going to go with Fallout because it was great, but I'm going to go something different here. I'm going to go with a show nobody's talking about. It's on now. Its first season is underway. St. Denis Medical on NBC. It's a really fun comedy, and if you're a fan of Office and Parks and Rec like I am, obviously they're not trying to replicate it, but it's in that space. It's the mockumentary. It's the breaking the fourth wall. It's a lot of fun. And Allison Tolman, who I fell in love with from that first season of Fargo, which more on that later. But she's the lead. It's just David Allen Greer pops in, Wendy McCloven. It's a great cast. It's a lot of fun. It's a pretty funny show with a good heart, which is what NBC is pretty much known for at this point. So St. Denis Medical is my first recommendation.
Yeah, that's a good call here. I'll throw out also one I feel like that just wrapped up its first season. I remember might get a second one here. Hey, could you check out The Penguin at all, Alan?
So I have not watched The Penguin yet, only because I haven't had the time to really sit down and embrace it. I do plan on watching it. I hear great things.
It's a fantastic show, and like it obviously has the seeds of the Matt Reeves Batman film in there. Colin Farrell is back as the Penguin. You got potentially award-winning performance from Kristen Milioti as Sophia Falcone. A lot of great supporting characters in here. Like very well done show, and like a very like you're looking for like a gangster like mafia show like in the Batman universe. This is a very successful one at that.
I do plan on watching it.
Yeah. That's my top pick. And like, if you're a Curb guy, the final season of Curb Your Enthusiasm came out this year, and that was also pretty good.
It was really good. It was vintage Curb, and it actually had a really good finale that made a lot of sense. So I was very happy with it.
Yeah, so those are some early recommendations for us here. 2024 movies here. This can be something you've seen, something you haven't, you want to see. Like, I think I'll throw one out here that I have not seen that I want to get to. Just because the pop culture second here, like, I feel like I was just too much going on when Challengers came out, and I feel like I do need to see that. So I'm going to try and make a point to get to that this week because obviously the whole like 3 tickets to Challengers Please thing was a big thing on the internet for a while here. Tennis themed partially, which gets me engaged. So Challengers on my catch up list for sure.
Yeah, it's one of two Luca films this year, along with Queer. One that I haven't seen that is not, well, there's actually two coming out on Christmas that are on my very much looking forward to list. A Complete Unknown, the Timothy Chalamet as Bob Dylan movie, and Nosferatu, Robert Eggers' remake of the horror classic. Both of those are on my must-see list. I don't get to the movies often with a baby at home, but those are two that I'm going to try and make it a point to get to the theater and see. But as for 2024 movie that I have seen, I'm going to stay in the horror realm for a second because as one of the, maybe if not the biggest Hugh Grant fan in the world, and I have friends who can vouch for me, I saw Heretic in theaters and I loved it. And I obviously have a Hugh Grant bias. I'm a huge Hugh Grant fan. I think I've made that perfectly clear. But the movie works. For people who have religious ideology questions or just kind of aren't sure what they believe or have some ideas or theories of their own, this is a great flick to check out. It gets a little horror-y in the third act that may throw some people off, but the film as a whole is very much worth it. So it'll be on digital and it'll be available to rent soon. Heretic from A24, who I think is one of the best movie studios going today, who brings you some of the most creative, interesting content you'll see. So Heretic is my 2024 film recommendation for those who can stomach horror.
Yeah, that's some good ones. Some other 2024 recommendations of stuff that I've seen this year. I'll say, obviously, Dune Part 2, great movie. I think probably the best movie I saw this year here. And if you were a fan of the X-Men universe as a kid, the Deadpool and Wolverine will definitely hit a lot of nostalgia feels for you.
Believe it or not, Mike, I have not seen either Dune film or Deadpool or Wolverine yet. So they are on my watch list, and after your recommendation, they are bumping straight to the top.
Yeah, were you big into the X-Men movies as a kid?
I wasn't, so I may have to do some research prior to catch up. So I'll have I know the sphere, I know the culture. I just didn't see the films. So I think I saw X-Men 1 when it came out, and I never really saw the others. I've seen some scenes like Alan Cumming in the White House cold open. I think that's the second or third. I'm not sure. But I know enough. I think to fully appreciate it, I have to go back and watch some of those early Fox Marvel movies.
Yeah, I don't think it requires that much homework. There are definitely some shout outs to that universe in there that are a lot of fun.
Nice.
Yeah. Let's go next category here. Recent TV show. This is not to be 2024. Something that's come out in the post-COVID era here. What's something you have not gotten around to you want to get back to?
Sure. So I didn't think of it as something that I haven't gotten around to that I want to get back to. I'm throwing out some shows that I think people should watch since COVID started. And one of them didn't start after COVID, but has had a really good season that bled into 2024. Fargo season 5. I am the world's biggest champion of the Fargo series, and I am just super on the Noah Hawley train. Again, more on that later. I teased a Fargo reference, but here we go. Allison Tolman's in season 1. Season 5 just premiered. If you have not watched Fargo, it's an anthology series. Every season has a tie-in to another season, but pretty much different casts. So a lot of great stuff. Juno Temple, John Hamm, Dave Foley, of all people, really, really made the screen pop with season 5. And then I'm going to go back to something we talk about on this podcast very often. Mike Flanagan, who we are big fans of. For those, and I seem like the horror guy in this episode, but Midnight Mass came out in 2021. If you have not gone back and watched it or watched it when it came out, you got to have a stomach and some patience, but it truly is expert filmmaking on TV. And those are my recommendations for post-COVID TV shows.
Yeah, those are some good ones for sure here. I'll throw out here, this is going to sort of merge a couple of categories, I feel like here. But I do feel like if you're looking for a show that what was popping a couple of years ago, I know Agatha All Along, the parody of it in the premiere, Mayor of Easttown's another good HBO limited series. They have a bunch of the last few years. That's one I would definitely recommend as well.
Yeah, no, I have not yet watched Agatha. I feel like we've covered different aspects of pop culture between you and I this year, and I think that's great.
Yeah. I remember watching Mayor of Easttown at the end of 2022, and that show is insane. I know they've talked on and off about doing a sequel project to it, but I do think that would be a good one to catch up on. Because I know, if you were in the Marvel, the very first episode of Agatha All Along, they do a big parody of Mayor of Easttown.
Oh, that's interesting. And Evan Peters has been in both universes, correct?
Yes, he has.
And for those of you who love Hacks, which is another show I would recommend, Gene Smart, Mayor of Easttown. So
Yeah.
a lot of good work being done out there.
Yep. Go with a recent movie next here. So a movie that we have, I say, in the since the post-COVID era here. I'll just again throw out like the Nolan franchise here. If you have not, like, actually just go back to last year. If you didn't experience Barbenheimer last year, you need to do it just to like do them both like relatively consecutive to each other. I think like that's probably the biggest movie phenomenon we've had as non-franchise related in the past like 4 years. Like you need to have caught up if you haven't done it yet.
I agree. I've watched both films. Both films are excellent. Oppenheimer is truly in a league of its own. My film that I think you should go back and catch up on, and I'd hate for it to get lost in the shuffle, is Killers of the Flower Moon. Like, it's hard to say that a film that gets nominated for Best Picture gets lost in the shuffle, but it kind of has. I mean, it's only been out a year, and everyone seems to forget about it. And honestly, it was my favorite film of 2024. Oppenheimer's great. I thought Killers was a masterpiece. Martin Scorsese did it again with just amazing everything. Like I can't put over enough Lily Gladstone's performance. I think it's one of Leo's career's best, and it kind of got buried in his filmography. Robert De Niro, my favorite actor, him and Hugh Grant, 1 and 1A. Robert De Niro, maybe a latter half career best performance, and I don't even want to say maybe. I'll say definitely. It's a movie that has been. It came and went. It got its praise, but I don't think it got enough praise. So I'm going to stand out there. I'll die on that hill. Killers of the Flower Moon's a masterpiece. And just movies that, I'm throwing this in there, Mike, because they're not since COVID, but 2 movies I just saw for the first time in recent weeks were Silence by Martin Scorsese, about 2 priests who go over to Japan trying to find someone who left their village to teach Japanese citizens about Christianity, and he went missing, so they're searching for him. That film is powerful. And Sicario, we talk about Dune with Denis, but Sicario is awesome. And if anyone hasn't seen Sicario yet, buckle up. I know it's from 2015. It's almost 10 years old at this point, but oof, that was a roller coaster that I highly recommend.
Yeah, that was some good stuff here too. I'll throw another recent Best Picture winner in the mix here. Like, did you ever get to Everything Everywhere All at Once?
I didn't.
Yeah, that's another great one that has to go on the list because, like, honestly, like it, like every like we had multiverse fatigue or all the superhero stuff trying to do it. Like, this is a non-superhero movie did the multiverse did better than any of the superhero stuff.
That's what I hear, and it is on the list for sure. And Michelle Yeoh's now in Wicked, so everyone's still doing great things from that cast as well. Jamie Lee Curtis is in everything, and I mean that lovingly. So it's good. It's good to hear that movie holds up still, even amongst, like you said, multiverse fatigue. Which if you're going to do it, you got to do it better than everyone, and they did. It seems.
Yep. Now go and stick in the holiday mood. Obviously, you have some holiday like fever going on here, like within that last like week of December before you get to January here. So go with holiday content. Maybe something new, something old. Like, what are you making a point to make sure you check out during the stretch here?
So there are a couple. I'll stick to 3 classics because Mike, we don't realize it because we are from the 80s and 90s, but Christmas Vacation is going on 40 years old. Like almost. And that's wild, because when we were in high school, it was almost 20 years old. So another 20 years and here we are. Christmas Vacation, hilarious. I Chevy Chase, as controversial a figure he can be, I'm a huge fan. I'll stick with Christmas Vacation, Muppet Christmas Carol, because I'm a huge Christmas Carol nerd, and It's a Wonderful Life. All ancient history at this point, especially for Gen Z kids today. But I'm going to stick with those 3. I haven't seen anything relatively new. I have very little interest in seeing Red One, and all these Netflix Hallmark Christmas movies don't usually do it for me. So I'm going to go back to the classics for this category, and those are the 3 I will vouch for no matter what.
You didn't make it a point to go watch Holiday Touchdown this year on Hallmark?
I did not. Or Hot Frosty.
Yeah. Yeah, I figured Holiday has a funny joke because of the whole like fake Taylor Swift Travis Kelce story told. We actually got Andy Reid and Donna Kelce in the movie, which is hysterical.
They did? They got cameos?
They had cameos.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because it's like wild in terms of the They actually got like some active Chiefs players, not like big names. Some of the lesser guys on there. That's funny. But I think in terms of more recent thing, it's the new. This is Fox has sort of done this last year. Sort of like a holiday tradition. It's sort of like here. Are you into Legos at all, Alan?
I like Legos.
Yeah. They have a show called Lego Masters. They have a spin-off they air of the holidays called Lego Masters Celebrity Holiday Spectacular, where they bring in like 4 celebrities and they have like 4 contestants from the past shows, and they have them do like compete in Lego themed holiday building challenges. That's a fun, wholesome family content you can watch around the holidays.
Sounds great.
Yeah, you don't even have to be familiar with the show. It's just fun. It's a fun concept to see like these celebrities and these people really good at building Legos sort of like put together like these wildly creative like things based on just a simple challenge given by the producers.
Awesome. I'll definitely check that out.
All right.
I know you're a huge fan of the Holiday Light Spectacular contest show as well.
Yeah, that season's on there. I mentioned it last. I didn't want to bring it up again.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Holiday activity, something you're going to do in the week between.
So honestly, the biggest thing for me is Christmas Eve. It's really the time with family. I enjoy Christmas Eve more than Christmas Day, especially the older I get, because you still have the anticipation for Christmas. Because, hot take, after Christmas morning, it's fine. Like, you always have the dinner portion, but all the excitement and joy is Christmas Eve and Christmas morning. So Christmas Eve is when my family usually gets together to have fun, play games, eat apps. Like, really get together. That's the number one activity I'm looking forward to. As for the week between, it's back to work. And Hanukkah. So Hanukkah starts on Christmas this year, and my wife celebrates Hanukkah. Our baby celebrates Hanukkah. Well, as much as she knows. But so Hanukkah will be in between Christmas and New Year's, and that'll be a lot of fun this year, especially with my daughter a year older. So.
Yeah, I like going to find like these light displays. That's sort of my holiday activity I'll throw in there. It's like there are a lot of like good ones around the area if you're in the New York tri-state where you can there's always at least like some like whether it's, like Dyker Heights in Brooklyn, whether it's, like there's some like big displays in Westchester County, some walkthroughs. Like there's a lot of like cool Christmas light like things that you can go do for like a fun activity.
Always fun.
Yeah. All right. This is one of my favorite ones on the list here. A piece of quote-unquote bad content. And by bad, we mean something the internet has ripped to shreds, and either you can vouch that it's bad, but it's worth checking out, or like you haven't seen it yet and you want to go experience the badness. So like, what would you recommend in this front?
So, Mike, I have not seen any of those Sony villain movies, which I know are done. Like, they're not going to do them anymore. But it reeks of Mel Brooks producers vibes. Not the actual producers, but the plot of the producers, where you make all these things that are terrible and you're going to make money off of them. But the thing that boggles my mind is these are pretty big budgets, and they have, quote unquote, sucked all the way through, except for maybe the first Venom movie. Yeah. But like Craven, Madam Web, Morbius, the Venom sequels have all just been met with rage and hate. And I'm at this point, I got to check them out for myself. I got to see if it's overblown or if it's legit, because this is just utterly crazy that Sony would have these guaranteed money-making properties and just completely fail with them. It sounds harsh, but that's exactly what happened, especially with the box office returns of Madam Web, Morbius, and Craven the Hunter. I mean, I know the Venom, the Last Dance, I believe that's what it's called, made money. It did very well. But the non-Venom properties, I mean, my goodness, are they that bad? So I have to check them out in the new year, or maybe that week, as you said, between now and New Year's, if I get time to see if all the bad hype is worth it.
Yeah, I think for me, it's number one with the bullet is the Madam Web thing, because I mean, like, this is like, it was comically bad on the internet. The trailer fiasco here, like a movie like that was made to like appeal to like teenage guys with like Dakota Johnson and Sydney Sweeney as the two leads, like completely flopping is like something that's epically, you have to figure out why it went so bad.
Yeah, and I know the big joke is my mother was down in the Amazon studying spiders or whatever it was, but I am, it's so bad, I'm intrigued.
Yeah. I think in terms of that content, I think that's definitely the number one flop on the board for 2024. So I think it's a fun one for sure. I'm trying to look at some of the other interesting names on the list in terms of, I'll throw a positive movie out here in terms of Also, the other one that goes in here, Joker Folie à Deux, also is in that category.
Yeah, I at this point though, I'm not really. There's nothing saying I've got to see it. Like, it's not so bad because I've met some people. I mean, Quentin Tarantino's on the record saying he really liked it. So to me, it's still in that middle ground of Joker heads hated it. Therefore, it doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's good enough that I'm going to jump out and see it. So that one's on the back burner for me a little bit. But there is a movie that wasn't necessarily critically loved, but I thought was a lot of fun. Ricky Stenicki came out in January on Amazon. John Cena's hilarious in it. Zac Efron's great. So it's a Farrelly movie. Ricky Stenicki did not get met with critical praise, but I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's definitely some good stuff here. I'll throw out here the whole Borderlands fiasco is at least worth a mention.
Always worth a mention. And that one I'm intrigued to see because that cast is loaded. Eli Roth is a good filmmaker. I mean, Thanksgiving just came out last year and it was awesome. So I know there were a lot of behind the scenes drama with Borderlands, reshoots, rewrites, yada, yada, yada. But I think I'll check that one out. That seems like a no harm, no foul kind of deal.
Yeah. I forgot a 2024 movie earlier I want to mention here as well as a highlight of the year. Like Inside Out 2 was really good.
Oh, nice. I have not yet seen it.
Yeah, that's a good one as well here. Last two things here. Catch-up show. We're going to say this is sort of like, we have a lot of big name shows coming back in 2025. What would you want to catch up on before a new season comes out?
So I don't need to catch up on it because I have seen both the first two seasons, I think twice. The White Lotus season 3 is coming out. If you have not yet gone down the lane of the White Lotus or taken a trip to their exotic locations, please do. I mean, their anthology, a few through lines run. I mean, season 1 and season 2 has a huge through line. Season 3 is going to connect to that as well. Walt Goggins, who is one of my guys. I've always loved Walt Goggins since he was Billy Downtown Anderson in Major League Back to the Minors. Walt Goggins is going to be in season 3 along with some other really, really great cast members, Parker Posey, Patrick Schwarzenegger, Jason Isaacs, among others. So go back and check White Lotus. But Mike, I'm going to turn your theory on its head because I'm saying that there's a group of movies people need to go back and watch for an upcoming TV show, and might as well close it out in the horror realm. Noah Hawley from Fargo. I said more on him in a bit, and here we are. Alien Earth, coming to FX, TV show based in the Alien universe, which are some of the best horror sci-fi films you'll ever see. The first Alien is in my top 10 films of all time. So go and watch even the bad ones. Alien 3, Alien Resurrection. Go watch the Alienverse Predators, for goodness sake. Go see all the Alien films. One just came out, Alien Romulus, this year. Go watch them and get ready for Alien Earth, because when you mix that IP with Noah Hawley, I think it's going to be fantastic. So that's my twist on the recommendation.
All right, so those are your catch-up shows. I'll throw 3 out here to sort of keep an eye here in terms of there's 2 from HBO. Obviously, The Last of Us season 2 is coming out here. Season 1 was fantastic adaptation of the video game. They're going to split the second game up a little bit, so curious to see where that goes. Peacemaker season 2 coming out at some point next year. Very interesting to see what happens, especially with the whole DC Universe reset. And the last one here, Andor season 2 coming to Disney Plus in April here. Season 1, some of the best Star Wars content they produced since the acquisition, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah, that's all great stuff. I'm glad you mentioned Peacemaker. I really enjoyed season 1. Very much looking forward to season 2.
Yeah, last one here, catch-up movie. So we got some sequels coming next year. Any movies you're getting ready for to keep track of?
So I need to catch up. I know Dune Messiah is not coming up till next year, but I've got to catch up on those first 2 Dune films. Other than that, no. It's just I don't have anything. Like the Alien thing was the movies to catch up on for the TV show, so I don't have anything else to really add to that portion.
Yeah, I think in terms of that stuff, I'd say obviously I would want to revisit the Batman because the sequel's coming at the end of the year, and the Penguin sort of got me back in the mood for that. That's definitely number 1 here, and I do think a little bit like the new Captain America has me intrigued.
I mean, it has me intrigued, but I'm not hearing great things early on. I've heard that they've had to do emergency reshoots because test screenings have gone abysmal. So I'm very nervous about that. But Captain America is my favorite, Marvel property, or it was, before Endgame. Ever since, I feel like they have been in dire straits. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm just a bit nervous.
Yeah, and if you were interested in the John Wick franchise, they have the John Wick movies as a sort of spin-off slash like prequel between a couple of movies, one from the world John Wick Ballerina next year. So like, if you like the John Wick stuff, it's a good excuse to go back.
Yeah, I'm a huge Anna de Armas fan as well, so excited for that.
Yeah, and one more from the movies to catch up in here. The next Avatar is coming up here, so if you have like 7 hours, you can go watch both of the first two Avatars.
Yeah, not on my urgent list will be the next Avatar, but I understand and appreciate the significance to cinema that they bring.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Alan, thanks for all the time. Really appreciate it. People want to follow you on social media. How can they do that?
Mike, it's been a pleasure. On Twitter, you can find, X, you can find me at Alan_Austin_.
All right, Alan, thanks for all the time. Really appreciate it. Happy holidays.
Thanks, Mike. Always a pleasure. Happy holidays to you as well.